Hi, this is Sweet June coming back at you with another video topic. Hope everybody is doing great. I hope everybody is still wearing their masks, practicing social distancing, and washing your hands. Make sure you wash them for 20 seconds. And just keeping, because this virus is, they say the virus is starting to mutate. And I know everybody probably doesn't feel comfortable with getting the vaccine. And even we don't know if it even works. So this better to be safe than sorry. Don't let your guard down. Just keep wearing your mask, keep social distancing, and washing your hands. Be on the safe side. Avoid crowds and things like that. It is better to be safe than sorry until this we know for sure when we're out of the woods, completely out of the woods with this virus. Um, I did a video last week. I was talking about it was chat, you know, plans for 2021 and goals for 2021, update and chat. That video. Well, I wanted to expand a little bit further. I was talking about in that video about my situation with my hand and my arm, me being off of work. Um, I was talking about that situation, me being off of work, and I was basically telling people to um, basically put your health before. It is important to put your health first before a job because our health is in our wealth. So never put. I was basically telling people to never put a job before your health. Um, I'll try to find a link to that video and put it in the description box. I want to expand a little bit further on that, where I was talking about um, not putting a job before your health. I want to expand a little bit further than that as far as jobs. I want to talk about, um, now I know everybody has to work. We all have to work because you can't live in this system without money. We need money to live. We need money to live. It's a reality. And we all have to work to earn a living, to um, buy food, pay our bills, maintain housing, and all that. So working is a necessity. We have to work. We can't live without money. Um, so with that being said, um, it's best to find. Some people are blessed enough to be able to find a job that they love doing. They get paid to do what they love to do. And some people are blessed enough to be able to, like some people went to college and they were blessed enough to be able to find a job in their field that they went to college in. But a lot of other people are, a large percentage of people are working jobs as a means to an end to maintain, to support their families, to pay their bills, to pay for their housing expenses and everything. It's a means to an end. Even some people with an education find themselves working, just taking whatever they can get to pay the bills because they can't find a job in the field that they went to school in. And it's life. Life happens, and sometimes things don't always go the way we plan. You know, uh, People say plan, 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 but sometimes, most oftentimes than not, things don't go the way that we plan in life. You know, and sometimes you just gotta just do. It ain't no sometimes. It's a lot of times. Most of the times we just gotta do what we have to do. And so it's hard to, a lot of times people, they're working jobs that, and sometimes, you do get in a job that, you like to do. It may not be your passion, may not be your dream job, and it may not be your passion, but you like to do that job for particular reasons. Um, like I liked elderly, I liked working with the elderly to some extent. I liked helping people. I always liked it to help people. I still like to help people. I do love the elderly. um, and everything. So I had jobs where I would assist the elderly and assist people, and it's kind of rewarding in that sense because you're helping people to do things that they're not able to do for themselves. So in a sense, it's kind of rewarding in that sense. But sometimes we know we get on a job, and a little disclaimer: I'm not telling anybody to quit their job, but sometimes we get into a job that it might be a little bit too physically demanding for us, or there, other words, there's reasons. Sometimes we get a job, and there's reasons why we should not stay on that job, and those are the reasons that I'm going to point out. Sometimes there is reasons why we should not stay in a job, or staying on a job is not in our best interest. And I'm going to, in this video, the video is going to be a little long because I don't want to do a part two. In this video, I'm going to point out the reasons. Um, it's time to quit your job, or reasons why it might be in your best interest to quit your job. I'm not telling anybody to quit their job, but these are some reasons why maybe you should consider quitting your job, maybe looking for something else. Really. So I got my list here. Number one, as I've pointed out in some of my other videos, some things that I'm going through right now physically. If a job is taking too much of a physical toll on your body, if a job is taking too much physical toll on your body, um, and you find that, you know, you, especially particularly when you're older, whatever it is that you're doing on that job, that the duties that that job requires you to do, sometimes it's a lot of heavy lifting or whatever the situation is. If you find that when you coming home, you're in a lot of pain, particularly if you've injured yourself on this job. Sometimes people get injured on jobs, or if the job is just taking too much of a physical toll on your body. You're always coming home. It's not normal to come home in pain every night every day when you leave your job. It is not normal to come home in pain. It's normal to come home tired. And I'm talking about beyond just the regular aches and pains of just um, kind of physically asserting yourself. I'm talking about you really in some serious pain. You come home from work and you're really in a lot of extreme pain. That is not normal. And that means that your job is taking too much of a physical toll on your body. Sometimes you have other underlying issues going on with your body, and the job just contributes to that. And in that case, you have to make a decision of what's important. Sometimes you might need to look for a job that's less strenuous on your body. Um, in my case, I had to make the decision to just leave because I just physically could not keep doing this job. It was taking a physical toll to the point to where I just physically could not do it anymore. And I was so afraid that if I kept doing this, the things that I was doing, that I was going to make whatever situation, my arm and my hand and my back, I was afraid that I was going to make it worse. And then when I did quit, I found out it was worse than what I initially thought it was. So that was the bad part. So you want to make that decision before you want to make that decision before it gets worse. You know, you don't want to keep doing the job and keep doing it and letting it keep taking a toll on your body, because the idea is when you leave the job, you want to be able to go back to work. You want to be able to go get another job. That's the idea. You don't want to be so messed up to the point to where you can't work for anybody. And that was my fear, and that's a huge concern for me right now. It's a huge question mark in my mind. Will I be able to um, go back into the workforce? So that's something, the jury's still out on that. But that's something that, you have to really decide. Ultimately you have to decide, what's important. Is my physical health important, or just job, or whatever the situation? So if a job is taking too much physical toll on your body, it's not a good idea to stick around. That you have to make a decision. Number two, taking a mental toll, too much emotional stress. If a job is putting too much emotional stress on you, if you're because your mental is just as important as your physical health. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. A lot of people downplay mental health, but mental health is very, very important. There's people that have committed suicide because of the things that they were going through on their job. There were people that came in and to the job, and let's say sometimes this happens a lot with postal workers. I don't know what's going on with the postal system, but they say people have come back to the job and shot up people on the job because of mental and emotional stress, mental health issues. It's very important. If you find yourself on a job and you're in the job for whatever reason, it's causing you too much emotional stress, you're having mental health issues as a result of this job, then that it's really not worth it. No really amount of money is worth your physical or mental health on anybody's job, because a lot of times, like I say, people, have ignored the fact that they was going through extreme mental and emotional stress on a job, and they winded up, taking their life, or they wind up abusing their body, using drugs and alcohol, or worst case scenario, taking it out on someone else. When all they all they had to do was just leave the job and go get some mental help, and that all those things could have been avoided. So it's just, if a job is taking that kind of emotional stress and mental stress on you, it's really not worth it in the long run, because it could have a horrible outcome. Number three, harassment, sexual bullying. If you're going through any type of harassment on your job, whether sexual or any type of harassment, people bullying. There's all different types of bullying, and that's a whole nother video. But there's different types of bullying. Sometimes people can be bullying and not realize they're being a bully. You know, you know, people don't say and do things on jobs, and they don't realize they're being a bully, but they really are. So there's a fine line there. Um, or if consistently you going to work and you're consistently dealing with harassment. I know I had a job where this young lady kept coming to work and harassing one of my other coworkers. She just kept harassing her, just kept harassing her. They were having a lot of problems with this lady. I think this lady was having some mental health issues, and she just kept harassing my coworker. She just kept coming to work and just kept harassing her day in and day out. She tried to tell management, and management ignored the situation. Finally, my coworker got so stressed out to the point to where she started talking to a lawyer to find out what legal action and legal rights that she had, because it is an employer's. Let me tell you something. It is an employer's responsibility. It is an employer's responsibility to, if you're dealing with any type of harassment or on your job, um, that's called being exposed to a hostile work environment. If someone is exposing you to a hostile work environment, it is the management's responsibility to get a handle on that. They need to counsel that person, talk to that person, give that person a warning, or in her case, they winded up having to fire her because um, it got to be too much. She and my coworker was talking to a lawyer, so they got scared. So they messed around and they finally got rid of her, you know. Um, because it even came down. This was at an assisted living facility that I was working at, and it even came out. She got so bad to the point to where a resident was in distress, and we needed help with this resident. She wouldn't help us. She was so in her feelings and had such an attitude towards this coworker. She would not help us. She would not even do her job. She couldn't. It affected her professionalism on the job. And she literally, we had a resident that was in distress, and we needed help with this resident. She would not help us. She literally came in there, seen us. We need help. We told her we needed help. Walked away because she was so upset with what was going on between her and this coworker. That's unacceptable. And the management, took all that into consideration, plus the fact that my coworker was talking to a lawyer, and it was like they got scared. We got to cut our losses here, and they got rid of her. You know. So it is a management's responsibility if you're dealing with any type of harassment on a job. It is their responsibility to make sure that um, that's you're exposing someone to a hostile work environment. Everybody has the right to come to work and not be exposed to a hostile work environment. And that is on the management. It is the management's responsibility to get a handle on that. And if they don't, then you can take legal action. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't know that. You have rights. We have rights. As employees, we do have rights. And that's a violation of your rights. Um, and of course, sexual harassment, nobody should tolerate that. Nobody should have to, no woman should have to, or man should have to put up with any type of sexual harassment. That's unacceptable. If your boss is doing it, you go higher than him, you might have to take legal action. You might have to do a little bit more than just quit your job. Sometimes it's about principle, and so sometimes you have to actually take legal action against an employer. It all depends on the situation. Number four, bad bosses and management. A company is only as good as their management. If a company has bad management, that is a reflection of the company. And if you have bosses that are disrespectful, they're disrespectful, they show favoritism. This is a big deal breaker for me. I hate it when bosses, management show favoritism. They favor one employee over another or whatever the situation is. I hate that. It's so unprofessional. It's so unprofessional. And they have a set of standards. If as an employer, as management, you have a set of standards, because every employer has a set of standards of how they want things done. That's okay. That's acceptable. That's how you run an orderly workplace. But if you have a standard of how things should be done on your job, that standard is supposed to be the same across the board for everybody. No exceptions. It's supposed to be the same across the board. Not, oh, okay, you do, you keep your foot on this person's neck, but this other person you let them slide. I hate that. That is my number one pet peeve with management. They relax their standards when it comes to certain people. No, if that's your standards, then it needs to be the same across the board for everybody, not just certain people or whatever. And so I have a serious issue with that favoritism. You like people, I know that it's human nature to like certain people better than you do others. I get that. But when you are in a position of management, you have to be professional at all times. Even if you are cool with certain people, okay, well, be cool with them outside of your work. People, a lot of people don't have a difficulty of separating personal with business. There's personal and there's business. You have to be able to separate the two. If you cannot do that, then you have to really question if that person is even suitable to be in management. Okay, because you have to be professional when you're in a position of management. You need to be professional at all times, and those standards that company standards um, that are required, of how they want things done, needs to be the same across the board for everyone, no exceptions. And believe it or not, a lot of companies lose employees because of that very thing. They show favoritism, and it's not acceptable. It's unprofessional. It makes the company look bad. It's just it's unacceptable. And in some cases, it's a racial issue. Not always, but some cases, it's a racial issue. Some cases, the management is showing more favoritism towards the white employees than they're letting white employees get away with certain things and do certain things. But the black employees, you got their foot on your neck. Now I'm just keeping it 100. Okay, that's unacceptable. If you have those type of biases, you do not need to be in a position of management. A part of being professional and showing professionalism, having professionalism as a person in management, You need to be professional at all times and hold those standards across the board for everyone, no exceptions. So that's unacceptable. It's a deal breaker for me. If it's real bad, that'll make me want to leave a job. A company is only as good as their management. Um, Bad pay, no advancement. If a job is consistently, you're not making any money, you've been on the job 1, 2, 3 years or whatever, you're still not making a lot of money. I've had jobs where I've gotten micro raises, 10 cents here, 15 cents there. Come on, and you find yourself on the job for 4 years and you're still not making a livable wage. To me, that's kind of a deal breaker because I feel like, okay, I'm still not making a livable wage, and I've been on this job for 3 or 4 years. This is 3 or 4 years of my life that I've spent on a job that I'm still not making a livable wage. You guys are not paying me what I'm worth because I feel like I'm worth, more than what you guys are paying me. So that'll make me want to bounce. That'll make me want to move on. No opportunities for advancement. It's kind of like a dead end job situation. There's no opportunities for advancement. There's no opportunities to grow. They don't want to pay you a whole lot of money. They want to play you cheap. And the work doesn't equal the pay. You're putting in all this work, but you're not getting paid and that's the case in a lot of service industry, service jobs, and things like that. And it's a lot of healthcare jobs is like that. You're doing more than what assisted livings are really guilty with that, really bad with that. You're doing nurses work and nursing home work. Nurses that you're in assisted living. You're in assisted living. It's a reason why it's different levels. But you're doing nurses aid work. You're doing nurses work, but you're just an aide. You're just a resident aide, but you're doing or direct care aide, but you're doing nurses work. Nurses aides, nurses aides get paid a certain amount of money. Nurses get paid a whole lot of money, but you're doing both. You're doing more than what that job description requires. But they're only paying you you're only getting an aide salary. That's no good. That's no good in my book. You playing me cheap. You're not paying me what I'm worth. You're not paying me for the job, the work that I'm putting in. Like I worked at this one assisted living, and we were doing hospice. We were doing, um, nurses aid type stuff. They had a med techs, what they call med techs. I refused to take the med tech position because I'm like, you're not. I'm not going to do a nurse's job for on an AIDS pay. I refuse to do it. So it's like that's how they get around it. That's they get more bang for their bucks, so to speak. You know, they get around a lot of stuff. The state lets them get away with it. So what can you say? But you have to make the decision. I'm worth more. That's a deal breaker for me. If I feel like I didn't been on this job for 2 years or 3 years and I'm still getting this X amount of dollars. You know, that's crazy. Like when I worked at the daycare, I left work making 9.40 an hour after 4.5 years, and I was an assistant teacher, which I had to get uh, a credit. I had to get certified to in that position. I had to get a certification in there. I had to go through the process of getting a certification and everything, and I was fully qualified. Where she was showing favoritism, paying some people more than what she's paying others. But that's just ridiculous. You leave. I know the childcare industry is a very low paying field, but that's just ridiculous. 9.40 after 4 years. I'm an assistant teacher. You know, mm-mm, crazy. So it's just not. Sometimes it's not worth it to stick around. This a dead end. This video is long. It's gonna be long. Um, Racial discrimination. If you're going through any type of racial discrimination, if you're a person of color, not just African American, but in any race, if you're suffering any type of racial discrimination, that is definitely a deal breaker. I've had to quit 2 jobs because of racial discrimination. 2 jobs. I'll go into the stories another time. But racial discrimination is a big, huge issue. If you're dealing with any type of racial discrimination, that is a deal breaker. Sometimes you can take legal action, but sometimes, a lot of times, it's just easier just to move on. It's just easier just to just find another job and move on, because the thing is, racial discrimination is so hard to prove. It is so hard to prove. You have to make sure you're keeping the documentation, you're writing things down. Sometimes you have to record stuff, and because sometimes the management is your word against theirs. They'll say one thing, and oh, that's not going on, and sometimes you have to have witnesses. It is so hard to prove, and that's the thing. They know it's hard to prove. These employers know that it's hard to prove. They know that it's not easy to prove racial discrimination. So that's why they feel a lot of times they can get away with it. They feel like they can get away with it because it's hard to prove. Very difficult to prove. So sometimes it's I've heard of some black people taking legal actions against certain employers. I think it's wonderful if a person can do that, but sometimes in a lot of cases it's just easier to just move on. Just find something else and just kick them to the curb and just move on to something else. Unfortunately, you feel like when the couple times that I went through it, you really feel bad. It really rocks you down to the core that they have the audacity to treat you that way simply because of your race. Um, it shakes you to the core, but because you got to earn a living, you got to take care of your family or whatever, and you really have no legal grounds to stand on, unfortunately, it's just best to move on. You know, too much overtime, turnover rate. If a job is this working you too much overtime, and I know in my city we have a lot of factories. Factories are so guilty of this. You got people working 7 days a week, 12-hour a day shifts. Come on now. We got a factory here in my city that works people 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Come on now. You gotta have that balance. You gotta have that work-life balance. If you don't have that work-life balance, that's a problem. And this goes back to what I was talking about, health. It kind of falls into that, because if you're working so much to the point to where after a while it's going to start breaking down your body. 7 days a week, 12 hours a day going to start breaking down your body. We're all human, and physically we can only take so much. Your body can only take so much exertion, to the point to where there's times where I've worked so many hours that um my body just shut down on me. I get sick. I get the flu. That's your body's way of saying, I got to shut you down. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. You're putting too much on me. See, our bodies talk to us. We have to listen to them. When your body, you working all them hours and stuff, all of a sudden you get the flu, or you get this major illness. It's because that's your body talking to you. Your body is saying, I had to shut you down because you wouldn't shut me down. You wouldn't shut me down, so I had to shut you down. Because then at that point, what happens? You're forced to rest. You got to rest. That's the only way you're going to get better, is you got to rest. See, I know in some cases I would get sick, and I work. There's times I worked with the flu. I had the flu and I still went to work. See, so when you do things like that, your body, you're putting yourself in a position for your body to completely shut down on you. In some cases, people have been hospitalized because their body just, they're working so much, their body just couldn't take it anymore. And these employers don't care. But you have to care about yourself. That goes back to what I was saying. You have to care about yourself. These employers, we're not machines. We're not machines. But you have to care about your own body. You have to have enough respect for your own body, and you have to know your limitations. If you're consistently it's one thing to volunteer for overtime, but a lot of these companies, it's a requirement that you consistently work overtime consistently all the time. You're not catching any too many breaks, and your body is just wore out. Sometimes it's not worth it. Sometimes it's worth it to just I throw in the towel, maybe find something where it's not so physically demanding, doesn't require you to work so many hours, particularly if that employer has a big, huge turnover where they can't keep nobody. And if you know if they can't keep nobody, then this overtime thing is not going to stop. So it's better to just sometimes just move on, to something where it's not so physically exerting on you. I know a lot of people like to work overtime because of that overtime is good money, but you gotta once again gotta make a decision what's more important. Yeah, if you sick or you dead, you ain't gonna be able to spend the money no way. So it's a faith issue as well. Better another one is better opportunity. Never stop looking. Sometimes you just want to do something better. Sometimes you're on a job, and it goes back to what I was saying: lack of bad pay, no advancement. If there's no opportunities to advance on a particular job, and you want better for yourself, if you just want better for yourself, you just want to. I know me, I'm not a complacent person, and once I get on the job and I realize that, it's not a keeper job, or it's not my passion, or it's not something that I want to do 10, 15 years down the road, then once I come to terms with that and realize that, I'm ready to bounce, and so as a result, I've changed jobs a lot. It is what it is. And so, just, wanting better for yourself. Maybe you went to school and maybe you went to college and you're working a job that's not in what you went to school for. You might want to just keep pushing. You might want to just keep striving to find that job that you went to school for, or finding the job that's your passion. Don't just settle. Some people just be like, well, I'm too old to change now, but they're miserable. To me, it's just not worth it. Keep striving to do better. Keep striving to get that job you want and you will ultimately be happy in. Just keep striving for better. I'm a firm believer in that. Um, Sometimes you just don't feel appreciated. Your best is not good enough. I know that if I'm on a job and I don't feel appreciated, or I feel like my best is not good enough, when I start feeling like my best is not good enough, it's time me to bounce. Because I'm steady coming to work and I'm work working hard and doing this and that and the other, and you're not even acknowledging the fact that I'm working hard and doing all these things, and sometimes I go extra up and beyond, and you're not even acknowledging that. you know Instead you being nitpicky and you nitpicking me, or you're acting not like I'm not working hard, or I'm not going up and beyond. Then it might be time for me to consider bouncing, because I don't like to feel unappreciated. I like to feel appreciated when I'm it's like employers tend to look at things one sided. They think that they doing you a favor by hiring you. It's a privilege to work for them. Actually, it's their privilege. For it works both ways. Actually, it's their privilege to have you as an employee, particularly if you're a good employee. I've always prided myself on being a good employee. I come to work. I don't call in a lot. I try to work hard, and every job that I do, I try to do it to the best of my ability. Am I perfect? Am I perfect? No. Do I fall short? Yeah, I fall short a lot. But I try to do the best job that I can possibly do on that particular job, and just come to work and do my job, and do the best I can. And sometimes employers lack appreciation for that. Sometimes they don't show enough appreciation, particularly when you're black. Sometimes they just don't show enough appreciation. I hate it when they be trying to play me like I'm lazy, like I'm not doing my job. I hate that. I can't stand that. I feel like my best is not good enough. I'm coming to work giving you my best. I can't give you perfection because I'm not perfect, but I can give you my best. I'm coming in giving you the best I got. Giving you the best. I'm giving you the best that I got. And if I'm giving you the best that I got, then and you not acknowledging it, or you being nitpicky, showing lack of appreciation, it's time for me. I'll be thinking about bouncing. So sometimes, to me, that's a deal breaker. If I consistently, if I consistently feel unappreciated, if I'm consistently feeling that way, if I'm consistently feeling like my best is not good enough, then yeah, it is a deal breaker for me. I don't know about you guys, but it's a deal breaker for me. Okay, so that's my list of reasons why maybe you should consider moving on to another opportunity. Leaving this opportunity, moving on to another opportunity. Because there's lots of jobs out there. I mean, employers think that you just got to work for their company. No, you don't. There's, there's lots of jobs out there, particularly if you have a lot of skill, if you have a lot of skill sets, you're educated. There's lots of jobs. Jobs are not easy to find, but they're out there. So you don't have to work for this employer. You don't have to put up with whatever it is that they're dishing out. Employers need to treat people better based on that, particularly if that employer finds themselves having a high turnover rate. You need to take a look at your company, take a look at your management, take a look at your company and find out where it is that you're going wrong and why you're run employees away. Is because you're not paying them enough, you're not showing them enough appreciation. Sometimes, employees appreciate incentives, bonuses, or whatever. If you come to work on time for 60 days and bam, you get a $50 bonus or something like that. And employees like stuff like that. So showing your employees more appreciation and things like that. Nobody's saying you got to come in and bust your arm and pat them on the back every day. Anybody's saying you got to go to that extreme, but just showing more appreciation and, paying people, basically paying your employees what they're worth. And yeah, it's a big thing because there are other opportunities out here. There are other jobs out here. So, no, you don't have to stay on this job, you know. So, let me know. Hit me up in the comment section. If you're new to my channel, hit the subscribe button, like button, and the share button. Um, Let me know in the comment section, way off in the comment section, if you can come up with some other reasons, or let me know reasons why have you guys left jobs. Start off the conversation. Let me know why you left the job, and let me know what are deal breakers for you. What are your deal breakers? What it is that you draw the line on and you can't tolerate on the job, and you just gotta go. At any rate, sound off in the comment section. Hit that subscribe button, the like button, and the share button, and the notification bell, so every time I do a video, you'll be notified. Until the next video, peace and love. This is Sweet Tea.